I am your host, Steven. Nieema's not here. She's in class right now. Because, she out here
Getting
living
her
her best.
education.
Yeah, getting her education, working, doing school. I always give her mad props for that because I couldn't do that shit.
I mean,
Work.
I said I was done with school since I was done with school.
This is also true. This is why I was a dropout.
Yes.
And obviously, y'all recognize Vixon's voice. We're back at Dubway Studios. We were both gone from the last episode.
Yeah, it was a ladies' day.
Yeah, Natalie let me know how much fun they had that we weren't there.
Oh, they didn't miss the estrogen, the testosterone in the room at all.
Yeah. So, who knows? Maybe they'll do it again. Never.
Ouch.
But we have a very special guest this week. We have my homegirl, Tori. Yeah.
Oh, you speak.
I'm like, do I talk
In
now?
fact, bring the mic closer to you, please.
Yeah.
closer.
Get comfortable. Get
It's
in your
real,
bag.
It's like,
No.
this is interesting. I'm celibate, so this is
Just-
for me. This is okay.
Don't be shy.
Get comfortable.
Back
Get
at
comfortable.
it.
You're
Get
the
all
guest.
get all the
I'm
way in
excited
there.
to be here. My name is Tori,
Hey,
as
Tori.
they said.
Yes. So before we even jump in, shout out our sponsor, Scotch Porter.
SP.
Yeah, it's cold outside, so y'all niggas gotta make sure y'all taking care of yourselves. So use the code SI10, get all your products 10% off, and you won't be looking dingy out here in these streets.
Or ashy at least.
Yeah.
Like Scotch Porter is like the lotion for your beard.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
See the natural glow?
Yeah, I'm
Go-
not thinking, like, you do have nice
Thank you,
glow
thank
going
you,
on.
thank
We are the Scotch Porter boys.
Okay.
I don't know where he got that from. I don't know where
I just
he
made
got-
that shit up.
I really don't know where he got that from.
Just made that shit up.
But yeah, so I wanted to do an episode on cannabis
Weed.
because yeah,
Stank, smoke, blunt, L.
yes, all those terms and more.
Right, there are many more than that.
Yeah, all those terms and more.
I heard a few old ones like stink.
Yeah. It clearly has been a while for him. But yeah, I wanted to do an episode on cannabis because one is not something that I particularly indulge in, and just trying to just step out our box and do something different for once. Usually we talk about stuff that we have some sort of experience with, so I wanted to bring something that either we don't have no experience in at all, or just address some of the stigmas that's out there, or just address it in general. So Tori is an entrepreneur, and with beauty products that just happens to deal with cannabis as well. So it only made sense that I bring, a woman of color, an entrepreneur, to discuss something in this field.
Yes. Thank you. I also smoke weed on the internet, so that's pretty
Ooh,
fun,
dope.
too.
See,
Yeah, the YouTubes.
you live the
Yes.
life. You're living the life. So I guess we'll start off with what was your first experience with cannabis, weed, the blunt?
I feel
The
like I didn't really smoke in high school. I didn't drink. I didn't do anything in high school because my mom did not play that. She didn't want no
Beat that
CPS
ass.
cases. Like, she's like, no, you go home, you go to school, that's it. I remember just first smoking at a New Year's party or New Year's Eve party after 2008, the year I graduated. And just getting high for the first time with friends, a couple friends, and I was just like, all right, this is cool. I knew what weed was. I never thought it was bad or anything. I just felt like, okay, people get high. And I just remember being high and being like, all right, this is nice. There wasn't nothing else happened, usually when I would drink, I felt drunk, and I'd be like, oh, this is crazy. With weed, I was like, literally. With weed, I was like, all right, this is just nice, So I feel like it was like a New Year's Eve party.
And then
It had to be.
did the shit hit after a while, and there was oh.
I
wow.
mean,
Like-
that it was 10 years ago, So I don't
yeah.
know. I'm sure it didn't hit. I'm sure it really probably did. It's probably some sour from Harlem that they were just selling, that we just all pitched in for a dime bag.
And y'all just did it
$10.
just for the sake of doing it. There wasn't really no peer pressure or anything involved.
No, I'm not one to succumb to peer pressure anyway. So for me, it's I did it. I knew I wanted to try it, and I just remember being New Year's Eve party is a perfect time to get high.
I mean,
yeah.
you're starting off a new year,
You're
new
18,
beginnings.
right.
Yeah,
Going to college.
it's all right, let me do something that I haven't done to start off my new year.
Yeah,
So that makes sense.
Yeah.
That
The
makes
first time I
sense.
did it was in college myself, but I did it. It was weird. It was me and my homeboy, and we did it in the dorm bathroom because they have the smoke detectors and shit.
Bathrooms are great.
Yeah, that was the first time I did it. And I was like, this shit is crazy because I wasn't used to smoking like that in high school or any anything like that. So.
See, I was later than everybody. I think I'm later than everybody that was in here.
Really?
Because I grew up in a very strict household.
Mm-hmm.
So I distinctly remember, like, my father having issues with his brother because his brother would partake in that.
Mm.
So I always grew up with that, yo, if you smoke weed, like, you're a dweeb or you're a loser or whatever. And then I was dealing with somebody, and that was something that she did recreationally. And I was like, all right, let me try it. Let me see what the hype is about.
Right.
And I was like, oh, okay, this is what y'all be craving. Okay.
I mean, my father
Well,
was a drug dealer,
there are
so.
some people that act like they cannot function
Oh,
without
but
it.
I mean, that's kind of wild because it's like it's not like all right, it's weed, yeah. You know what I'm saying? If you like weed, you like weed. But then it's like you could also live without it too. Like
You can. I mean, for me, my father was a drug dealer, so like I always knew what weed was growing up. Like I just knew a lot of stuff as a kid. I was just very observant. And I just remember one time, like my first instance with fake weed. I was with like all my father kids. It's a ghetto story, but we were all at his house, and we are like, yo, they're like, my older sister's like, let's smoke. So they like opened a tea bag, ripped like a brown paper bag,
yeah,
and
I
like
remember
rolled it
when
up,
he
you
was
know,
doing
so
that.
and like lit it.
Boy.
Right. So that was the first instance where I was like, that was probably my first, weed experience without getting high. But I was like, oh, this is kind of fun and interesting, like rolling it up. It felt
like
bad. Yeah, it was
Living
really
life
weird,
on the edge.
but like, and I was probably like under 10 at that point. I was really young because I had like older siblings. There was a bunch of us little rascals, and from then on, I was like, oh, I gotta try this one day, for real. Because this Lipton tea, I was like, this probably is not safe.
yeah,
but
the
okay.
lemon zinger and the chamomile wasn't
Right?
So I guess based on like your experiences at that young of an age, weed was just like second nature for you.
Yeah, I mean.
So you didn't really feel a certain way about it at all.
No, I felt like, I grew up in Harlem, so I saw a lot of crackheads, and I was like, well, weed doesn't seem to do that. And then I saw a lot of drunk people, and I was like, well, weed just
Doesn't
like,
do that.
you just like, they're just kind of sitting on the couch, I guess. That can't be too bad, as opposed to everything else. Like, I knew crack was definitely like not it. I knew drinking was probably like, might fuck you up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I could curse, right? It's not
Yeah.
It's too late now.
Right, I know. I'm like,
We said way worse.
right. I'm like, don't say the F
believe me,
word.
we just started.
So I knew, like, I was like, it's not, I just never thought it was that bad. I was like, and white people do it. I just knew white people did it too. I was really into white culture as a kid. So
Interesting.
I was like, white
Watch a lot of
people
TV.
did
In
it.
Harlem?
Oh, I was told, like, yeah, because, I don't know, I was the only child, and all I had was, like, J14 magazines and, like, looking up white stuff on the internet, and, like, Avril Lavigne and
That's how
Ashley
you-
Simpson.
that's
Men
how you
white,
assimilate.
Yo, literally, so that's why I don't like, that's why I talk like this, because my childhood.
That's all good.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll jump into like the biggest misconceptions when it comes to people who smoke. Obviously, the one that I could think of off the head that my father kind of put into me was like, if you smoke, like you're a loser, like you're not doing anything with your life.
Well.
And clearly,
It
that's
can-
not the case.
I mean,
for
but it
some
could
pe-
be, though.
Yeah,
Is
it
your
could
father
be.
Caribbean?
Yeah,
Oh, that's.
Yeah.
I'm
My
not trying to hear the
father's
accent. I'm like, I could hear the accent with him saying it too. Like,
yeah.
do that.
He would never say it to me, but he
Oh.
would just always talk about his brother in a certain light.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely stigmas, and I think they have some truth to them. Just
Yeah,
like with
But I think that's more
alcoholics.
circumstantial.
I think it depends on the person too, because look, I got some cousins that smoke, and they my family, but not to say they're losers, but they're not very active.
But I don't even think that's the weed. I think that's who they are just as
Well,
individuals.
this is what I'm saying. Like, I mean, the weed just amplifies it, if anything.
Yeah.
But it's like if you're
It's
that
like
type
this
of person-
tangible thing that people could use.
Right. But at the same time, like they both work. They're not like lazy. It's just like they just like smoking and chilling. So.
Yeah, I think for me, there's definitely a stigma, especially as a woman, especially as like a black girl from a hood, But I think the stigma there's truth to it. Just like with people who drink have issues as well. Like there's some people who can drink and just do it socially and do it occasionally, or can have a glass or two of wine every night and be cool. There are some people who drink and it affects their whole lives. Like they stop working, they have bad relationships, they do bad things, and alcohol is negative for them. I think the same can be said with weed. I just feel like the stigma of weed is just more negative. One, because it's illegal in most countries and most states. Two, because it's been made to be attached to a stereotype, especially with black people, and like
that's probably the biggest
Latinos. Like it's literally was made illegal for a reason.
Yeah.
It was stereotyped for a reason. So when you're country and, you know, you're raised to kind of have those stereotypes, you know, ingrained in you, of course you're going to think there's a stigma or that it applies. But I mean, yeah, there's definitely some lazy people who definitely smoke all the time and do nothing with their lives. But there's also people like who literally wake up, smoke, and excel in life.
Yeah.
Like
there's been numerous there's been numerous professional athletes that after they've retired, they've admitted like, yo, I was smoking like crazy right before the game.
Listen, I had a basketball era.
Drop 30.
They all smoke.
And kept it moving.
I've probably smoked the most. Like I've dated a couple athletes. Okay, like 2. That's a couple, right? That's a couple too, right? Okay, only one of them smoked, but like smoked the more than any other kind of regular ass dude I ever was with, you know, and like a lot of
jumping
athletes
out the gym,
smoke.
literally,
like they smoke and they know like when to smoke, when not to smoke, but they like weed. It's like, and I think it's more of a calming thing because their life is so rigid and organized and hectic that like weed helps. It's better than, I would rather do like smoke crazy though than like drink crazy, to be honest.
Right. Well, there's no weed and there's no like weed anonymous. You know what I'm saying? Like,
there could be though.
I mean,
there kind of should be.
Yeah, there kind of should be. Yeah.
Like, but weed is like, usually it's like if you get to the point where you probably need to go to like Alcohol Anonymous or Drugs Anonymous, weed is not the only thing that's your issue. It's usually like weed and alcohol where they do it together.
Yeah. Like there's a mental health issue as opposed to like chemically.
Right. As opposed to just want to like chill.
Yeah.
Like surf and turf, you know what I mean?
So when was like that shift? Because for a long period of time, I could say probably within the 90s and even the early 2000s, like weed was still looked at in a negative light. And then for some reason, out of nowhere, now everybody does it. Now it's socially acceptable. Like when was that shift?
I feel like it was the media because I remember being in high school and watching Weeds, that show where the woman was like a soccer mom and she was selling drugs, and I was like, yes, like yes.
Weeds was pretty lit.
Weeds was a great show, and what was it, HBO or Showtime? I'm not sure. Showtime, right?
Yeah,
and I remember that came out had to be around 2004 to 2006 because I was in high school. I remember watching it, and I think that was like one of the turning points, just because it showed like a white woman in the suburbs doing it for her kids, like you know, like for a purpose, and it kind of made it like easier to digest. Like, wow, there's like real weed out there. And then it showed other white people in the suburbs partaking in the culture and
different social classes,
right?
As well.
Like these were rich people, you know, like these weren't like poor minorities doing it. And I think that kind of started the trend. And I just think you have people like Snoop Dogg, to be honest, like he helped a lot with the culture. Yeah. Like he really did.
He's
like
I mean,
he switched when his kind of image switched, you know, like when he went from crook to like Martha Stewart's best friend and that kind of thing. He took that with him, you know, like he was still a pothead or a stoner or whatever he is, whatever he likes to be called, but he switched his image and switched the weed image too. And I think it was just like a slow kind of
a slow build.
A slow build of, you know, people kind of being like, well, everyone really does smoke. And I think it did start in white communities though. Like they were the forefront of it being a little more like socially acceptable, cool, kind of leading the charge because we couldn't do it because we were in jail and stuff, you know. So.
Well, that's always fun.
You know, let's be real.
I mean, this is true. But yeah, no, media definitely play a role. I mean, like, I'm thinking, like, you know, we have Harold and Kumar. You know what I'm saying? Like,
that too, exactly.
Like freaking Half-Baked. Like,
Pineapple Express.
Oh, yeah. Oh, Pineapple Express. Amazing movie.
Yeah,
he was
agreed.
like, grab the printer, grab this, fruit roll-ups. That's my favorite thing. He's like, fruit roll-ups. And I used to be high. And I used to be like, oh, my God, this is so funny.
Mood. Triggered.
Yo, that movie was so funny. Wow.
But yeah, no, weed culture's definitely been popularized in the past, like, couple of decades. So, I mean, it's not a surprise that, I mean, even though it's not legal in states and whatever case may be, but it's definitely more acceptable than back in the 50s where it's like, oh, we will kill you, you're the devil.
Yeah, but then you'll see, like, all those, like, you'll have those sitcoms where the white mom or the white dad talks about Woodstock and how crazy shit was back then.
They were on LSD and acid.
Right, they were on all the drugs.
Yeah, they was all on everything, too.
Whatever else was back there.
You walk there, you get weed.
Hello.
That's the welcome drug.
That's the hors d'oeuvre.
Woodstock, here's a
right.
Like, oh.
And then they'd say, here's the acid, here's the LSD, heroin maybe? I don't know. Cocaine, definitely.
Crystal meth.
There was a lot going on.
There was a lot.
Yeah.
I'm glad I was not alive for an era.
I mean,
it was just too much.
Woodstock's a weird place. I went to school upstate New York.
Really? Oh.
It seems like everyone's still high up there. like years later.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Residual high.
Since we already started jumping into this, we'll talk about like white weed culture versus black weed culture.
Oh gosh.
Because it's completely fucking different.
I mean, it's different because like I spent time in LA, so I lived in LA for a year and a half, and that really pushed me into the cannabis culture out there because it's a real culture. Like there's money to be made, there's parties, there's weed everywhere.
I think that's where it kind of started too.
Yeah.
With it being more socially acceptable to see what everybody's doing in Cali.
In Cali, like they're high out there, and I mean Denver was like probably Colorado, but Denver specifically was probably the first kind of city or large city to really push that culture forward. But I feel like in LA I got a chance to see like white weed culture versus in New York I pretty much only smoke with black people and like Latinos or Afro Latinos. Right. So it's very different. Like here it's very secretive. Like our culture is kind of like you said, like our parents are like, what are you doing? Like why are you smoking weed? Away. Even my mom is still like, I mean, I guess it's legal so she's okay, you know, but she still, you know, was never a proponent of it. Like I doubt she's ever smoked, to be honest. Like she's just not that type. So for us it's always just, it's more like a little secretive, a little more low key. In white culture it's kind of just like you probably smoke your first joint like with your dad. I've heard a lot of stories about that.
Yeah. It's just pops rolling up a doobie.
Yeah. And you like the little kid walks in and he's like, "What's this, Dad? I found your stash." And Dad's like, "Oh, Bud, just sit down."
Bud.
Let's have to talk.
Just sit down.
It's true because you see that for whatever reason it's more socially acceptable in their culture as opposed to ours.
Yeah, but I also think that's because
it's like it's almost like a rite of passage for them,
it is.
as opposed to us is like, oh, this is the beginning of the end.
Because it mostly has been in history. Like for us, if you sell weed or smoke it, they find it on you. You go to jail for the most part. Yeah. Like I remember being like 18. Everything happened when I was 18. I left my mom's house when I was 18 and just like went crazy. And I'm in Harlem. If everyone knows like where St. Nicholas Park is, and me and my homie, my high school crush, right? So we like went to the park. He's like, "I got some weed." I'm like, "Oh my God, yes!" Like I'm into weed. Maybe it was I'm into it. Let's go. So of course, like we don't have nowhere to smoke. We can't smoke in our parents' house. We don't want to smoke in the staircase. Those are our options. And we at the park, and like right before he goes to light it up, the cops come, and I'm just like, damn.
I was gonna ruin the party.
But I didn't know what was gonna happen, you know, like I never been in a situation. And I'm like, well, he only I knew white culture weed. I'm like, well, he doesn't have any on him. It's just like a little thing. They usually just let the kids go, whatever. No, he got arrested. Yep. And like they gave me all his stuff, his phone and stuff, and I'm just like, damn. Like now I gotta go to the precinct. Before I went to the precinct, I took his phone to like try to unlock it and stuff. It didn't work. But I was trying to see who he was texting. Did not work. And I didn't get high, so it was such a fail.
Double,
yeah. So I was just like, wow. I just ended up going to the precinct and giving him stuff, and I'm just like, all he did was have like a joint, or probably an L, but like he just had that. He lit it up. He didn't have any on him. He doesn't sell it, and he's arrested. And from then on, I was like, damn, there's a difference.
Definitely.
Like there's a difference.
Yeah, that's definitely that's an eye-opening experience.
It really was, and I was like, all right, don't smoke in parks. That was the lesson.
Yeah.
In the broad daylight.
That's a takeaway.
That was a takeaway. I was like, all right, don't
check that off my list.
Right.
Lessons learned.
I mean it's obvious, but you may have some more insight into this. Is there any way that weed could possibly be a gateway drug?
Yes, I think so. I feel like.
Because I feel like that conversation is kind of 50-50.
Yeah, I feel like anything's a gateway to anything. Like, if you break your ankle and you get prescribed painkillers, and I don't know if it's a chemical imbalance, I don't know what really causes addiction, if it's emotional, if it's a mental thing, but you could, those painkillers addiction could turn into shooting up heroin and smoking meth, because, like, that's just the truth. Like, I'm really into drug culture as a whole, so, like, the heroin crisis, meth, opioids, all that, weed. I think anything is a gateway. Alcohol, you can, like, start drinking a Corona at 18, and at 28, you drinking freaking 40s every night to, solve issues. So weed is definitely, like, you can start with weed. A gateway to what? Is it a gateway to cocaine? Maybe not. Is it a gateway to maybe you smoke more weed every single day, like you up to, like, an eighth a day? Yeah. I don't know what it's a gateway to, but anything is...
Yeah. I haven't heard anybody that's started with weed and then went into another form of drug.
I have, though, but, like, it's mostly, like, heroin addicts. Like they all, like if you watch a lot of like documentaries about heroin and like meth, a lot of them are always like, I started with weed, but that wasn't enough. And I felt like I needed it bigger. So it's not the weed. It's like weed actually was not enough for them. And they, because they needed something to numb them. They were like, weed didn't do enough because weed is actually supposed to elevate you. It's like,
well, depending on the strand.
Yeah, I mean, but still, like it's elevated. That's what the term is called. Like you have like CBD, which is more of the medical type, which is not elevated. That's like how they put it into layman's terms. THC elevates you. They don't feel elevated enough. They don't feel like they're numb enough. So then they go to cocaine, I guess, or pills. And so, like, I think it can be a gateway, but, like, not everybody is an addict, like, you know?
Right.
So I think that's where we have to draw the line. Like, maybe some people are just addicts, and weed was the first. Because weed is easy to cop. Like, a 12-year-old can get weed. Now, can a 12-year-old get painkillers to help them figure out whatever they want to do? No, but weed is probably the most accessible drug there is. So I think that's why it's could be a gateway, but like people are addicts. It's mad accessible. It's easy to find weed.
It depends on the person. I think that's really
yeah. I think it more so depends on the person.
Because
in the scenarios I've heard of people that gone to other stuff, is usually they buy weed that was laced and they didn't know.
Oh shit.
That's how DMX got.
DMX lying. He is lying, bro. He know he took some PCP. Listen, he know he took some PCP and sprinkled that shit. It's all right, DMX. Stop lying. All these rappers. I just watched this. I just watched this little YouTube documentary about Christ Bearer. He's a rapper. He's like a Wu-Tang affiliate who cut his penis off. And he cut. Huh? He cut it off, and he tried to jump off of a 2-story building.
Was this due to the drugs?
Yes, so PCP. And he was like in the 90s, all of them, like all of them were doing PCP. DMX lying. PCP? No, literally. No, PCP is, remember that scene in Friday where he's like, is it Friday? When he running, is it Friday? And he's in a chicken coop? Angel Dust, PCP? Is it not Friday? Come on, black people. Listen.
I'm sorry, I might have
I need help. I'm only half black. I need help with the references.
I don't think it's Friday.
Okay, it had to be a movie where somebody's in a chicken coop. I feel like it's Chris Tucker because I'm seeing a black man with a fitted on, a cap. And it's the Mexican. It's Friday.
It's Friday?
The little Mexicans are like chasing him or something.
Oh.
Okay. Sure.
Okay.
That's right. Angel Dust. Y'all need to get up on your black culture. Okay.
Well, it's not even that. Once again, I probably just blocked the scene from my brain because
probably covered your eyes. Like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
He was like, all right, Angel Dust. No.
Yeah. No thanks. No thanks.
Yeah. DMX is lying to you.
No mas. Well.
It wouldn't be the first time.
Exactly.
It wouldn't be the first time.
I'm not trusting DMX as a triple sword.
Yo, DMX, bro. Where is he in jail?
I believe so.
What
Either that or house arrest.
What drug do you think he's on right now?
All of them.
None. If he in house arrest.
Well, yeah.
But he's probably, I feel like, because he probably don't have as much money as he used to have. So what's the point? Like, listen, heroin and meth is out here.
Yikes.
Yeah.
For real.
Yeah.
For real.
Shout out to the Jewels.
No. That's, I don't know, his teeth, right? He just got his new dentures
yeah, that's
in.
not...
See, that's not weed. I'm okay. I feel like if weed is the worst thing I'm doing okay.
You're doing amazing, sweetie.
Yeah.
You're doing amazing.
You're doing better than a lot. So let's get into some of the benefits of cannabis.
All right, I feel like, 23 states, I believe, have medical laws that, like, allow medical marijuana. And most of them are for, like, New York allows medical marijuana. New Jersey definitely allows it. Washington, D.C. allows medical and recreational as long as you have, like, a card. Or actually, no, D.C. is, like, also just allows it. Kind of. It's a different story. But I feel like the benefits, for me at least, there are many benefits. I don't really self-medicate or, like, use cannabis to medicate myself, or like they call it microdosing, where like you take a certain amount to kind of treat different things on you. Like I kind of I'm the type who smokes to get high, to be honest, you know. I like weed, so if I'm gonna smoke, I like sativas, which are the uppers. Indicas are the ones I call like on the couch, like that's the indica, like you're on the couch. So I like sativa, or a hybrid, but like that leans more towards sativa. So for me, I do it because I like the feeling that sativa gives me. It allows me to like be a little more creative, a little more upbeat, especially if like you suffer from a little bit of anxiety and depression, or you're just having some down days. It helps. But there are medical benefits. Like that's more CBD. It's not going to get you high. It's not going to elevate you. And it's like for people who have pain, you can take CBD and it does really work. Like I've had like neck pain or back pain and I've like rubbed a CBD salve on it and I'm like, oh wow, what the fuck was that? Like it's like kind of like arnica, you know, like it's pain relief. For a lot of patients who have like cancer or like stomach problems, CBD can help you. Now on that side, I'm be real, like that medical side, I don't really get into that. And I feel like people kind of think if you're an advocate, like you're totally for the medical side. It's like, no, I'm kind of the advocate of getting high if you want to get high. Like honestly, like that's kind of my advocacy. Like get high if you want to get high, you know. And I think the only medical benefits of like getting high to get high is that you probably won't be as depressed. And should it be mad funny? So if you're lacking, like funny. If you're not a funny person, smoke more, because it'll help. But there are mad medical benefits. I'd say if anybody wants to learn more, y'all should just probably Google, because I will say though, I take CBD gummies, and I was working in this past summer on a rooftop in like the restaurant industry, and that shit was crazy. So I popped a CBD gummy before every shift, and I swear it was amazing. Like it just helped with your anxiety. Like it just made me so relaxed, and like I got better tips because I was happier. So if you're feeling sad, get CBD. That's my medical advice. And if you feel sad and you want to be high, get weed.
All right, thanks, Doc.
You're welcome. Let me write the prescription right now.
But I have seen like certain people in different industries, like as like elderly people in their families start to get old, they're starting to like push them like, yo, grandma, try this.
It's usually CBD because it does help you anxiety and like pain management at times. And I've been trying to get my grandma to take these gummies, and she's so scared. I'm like, Grandma, I know you used to grow weed. I've heard the stories. Like she, in her oven, like my mom, everybody told me. So she's like, I'm so scared. I don't know what to do with it. But like, I wish there was a big push to help the elderly, because it can help with like pain management and your anxiety and like your stress levels. And a lot of old people are stressed.
Yeah.
They stressed, like,
because they see the other side.
Yo, they just, and it's like also you 70 years old, like imagine how much life. I'm tired right now, and I'm not even 30 yet.
I'm tired, and next week ain't started yet.
Literally. So can you imagine being 70? Like how much life you gotta deal with?
Yeah.
I mean, I hope I live to like 70, but if I don't, I'm okay. Is that bad?
No,
You know, I'm like a good 70.
So you just got 70, then that's it?
Yeah, I mean,
like I've done enough.
Yeah,
literally.
Right. I could go anytime now.
Like,
I smoked enough. I think I'm good.
Enough. I've traveled enough, hopefully. I only got my little one kid, hopefully. Maybe 2. We'll be good.
All right.
Hopefully, man. I don't know.
God's plan.
Write it down. I have a vision board.
Put it out in the universe. So you've already tried edibles.
Oh, I like edibles, actually.
Edibles are
Any like crazy wild experience?
Yeah.
Well, if you got a story, I got two.
I know edibles are fun but scary. So,
Yes.
I used to hang around at like where was this? Let me get this story right. Sound weird. I used to get a lot of tattoos at Black Ink, and some people that worked there had like. I was cool with them, you know. So I was cool with them. Me and my homegirl, she actually lives in LA. So, but she's from New York. She's from Brooklyn. So I was like, yo, come from Brooklyn, come to my house. We're going to go to my homie's house. They made brownies, right? It's like the thing with like brownies that people make, you don't know what's in them. And this was years ago. It's probably like 2011, maybe 2010. Probably 2010. And I just remember somehow there was 4 of us and the whole pan of brownies was gone. And it's not crazy, like nothing crazy happens. We don't do that to you. Like if something crazy happens and like you find yourself jumping off a building, taking your clothes off, you are on crack.
You're on something else.
Yeah, it's not weed, excuse me. And I just remember being in the Bronx, at night, like this was 2010, so I mean Bronx is still crazy, but are you from the Bronx?
Facts. No.
Okay,
Brooklyn.
cool. I don't want to like.
I'm from Brooklyn too.
All right, I don't want to offend anybody. But
Bronx
this is like the
is
Bronx, the
offensive.
South Bronx, right? And I just remember like I don't remember honestly. I just remember like going to the chicken spot and
Ordering
everything. And I remember we were on the train, and she like this is our funniest friend memory. We were just like sitting on the platform waiting for the train like 12:30 in the morning, eating chicken and biscuits, like just stuffing our face. just stuffing our face.
That sounds like a positive
This is
experience.
how
Great.
Yo,
And I just don't remember anything else. I just remember the chicken. I remember the biscuits. I remember like seeing crackheads in the chicken spot, but like everything else is just a blur. Then that was like a fake edible, you know, like somebody handmade. I had my first real LA edible, and I slept for like a day and a half. So I don't know.
Sheesh.
That's pretty much my edible stories. I just be like sleeping and forgetting stuff.
Have you tried one?
Definitely have. My homeboy hooked me up with one, and I was in a controlled environment, so I mean, I was not prepared.
Really?
No, I mean, because the thing is, like, yeah, I had a little piece, and then he was like, "All right, yo, just be careful." And I was like, "Nigga, please, whatever." Like,
But you don't smoke, right?
no, I mean, I smoke on occasion.
Yeah, but so your tolerance is super low.
Oh,
See, for me, I'm like,
extremely low.
right.
Because the following events, well, oh boy. Talk about a blast off. Yeah, I was seeing some shit, hallucinating. Shit was blurry. I saw my words come out my mouth. Like,
wow.
Shit was wild. And then, like, on top of that, like, I was at my house and all this shit was happening. And I was trying to, like, it was just funny because I was trying to sleep and I couldn't sleep. I forgot how to sleep. I forgot how to drink water. Like,
Okay.
It was crazy.
What did they give you?
Your nervous system just shut down on
Shit
you?
was just wild. And then the crazy part was because I live with my family, so like my sister tried to talk to me, and I was like crazy off, and I was just like, "Can you just like leave? Because I can't have this conversation right now." And it was fun, but it was wild at the same time.
Yeah, I think edible stories are like usually like fun but wild.
Yeah.
But not super wild where it's like where people think it's gonna be as crazy as it is. Now you can overdose on edibles. Now that's probably crazy.
Yeah, I wasn't trying to pop the
No, you don't.
gummy in my mouth
Yeah.
on some
No.
like
Like
Starburst. Like
a good edible is just gonna like give you like a good feeling. For some people, it can like weed can induce anxiety and it's just like because it can like somehow for some people the plant can induce your anxiety. Yeah. Or you can be anxious because you've never tried it before and you're scared of the results. So that can like play tricks on your mind and be like, all right, I just took a bite of this edible, but did I? What did I do? What like?
Yeah, you
We
start
can fuck with you,
being
honestly.
paranoid.
For
I was
me,
questioning life at that moment.
yeah, I'm just a real cool person, so I'm like, I know I'm gonna be fine. Like I've taken edibles before classes in college, and I'm just like, I've given the best presentations of my life, you
That's
know?
what I'm talking about.
Literally, like on the
Prize.
whim. I remember like taking an edible with
Standing
my
ovation
homegirl.
and shit.
Yeah, like that episode in college is like a fucking scene. She had 2 edibles. One was like mad hard and dry. She was like, we ate it. She's like, this is not gonna work. Let's just take the other one because this was gross. So we like took another brownie and it was homemade again. And we got to class and the professor's like, who did the reports, like the homework or whatever, time to give a presentation. We were like, yo, we don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Everyone's giving presentations, and we're laughing in the back because we're just like, yo, everybody's funny.
This shit is dumb serious and they
like
laughing.
so funny.
Like it's a stand-up show.
It was so funny, and we were already bad in that class. Like that's why we were all the way in the back, and we're just like, yo, laughing, and it's my turn, and she's like I'm watching her as I'm doing it, and so like I look so excited because I'm just laughing at her. It's her turn, and she was like fucked up. Like she just could not do it. She was so nervous, so scared, so anxious, but it was so funny to me. So I'm just in the back laughing. That's the thing. If you don't feel like the edible's working, stop. Just let it work. Because edibles take like an hour to kick
we've
in.
seen all those memes. We've seen all those memes of like when that edible hits and you just fucked up.
It's like you're on a roller coaster and it's like, all right, I want to get off, and you can't get off.
Can't get off.
No, you can't. That's why I just go to sleep. I'm like, me just go to sleep.
Oh, I tried. It didn't work.
It didn't work. It's
He
like
forgot.
that buzzy feeling,
He
right?
forgot how
It's
to.
like the buzzy. Like for me, I would smoke when I was in LA. I'd smoke before bed, and like every time I go to bed or if I had an edible before bed, I just felt earthquakes. I was so scared of earthquakes that like every time, sometimes when I smoked or before nighttime, and depending on the strain, I would just feel earthquakes in bed and be like trying to sleep, and I just like the bed shaking. So that was my only scary thing.
Damn.
Because the earthquakes are real.
Yeah.
I felt one before.
I gotta check that off my list.
Definitely
I haven't tried one yet.
There was. Oh wait.
An
You tried
earthquake?
No, edible.
Oh.
what?
No.
Oh, I was about to say, you haven't tried one.
Yeah.
Like, but
Yeah.
why?
I should have brought you one. I have one that's 150 milligrams. It's a donut. I've been saving it. It's actually expired, but I feel like it's fine. It's in
Does
the
weed
package.
really expire?
It does.
Oh, okay.
Actually.
I learned that.
Weed
Just
can
like-
get
Really?
moldy, yeah. It can get
yeah.
moldy and stuff.
Oh, okay.
And it's a food, so I'm like it's an edible donut, but it's 150 milligrams, and I'm used to like 10 milligrams, so that's whatever, 15 extra, 15 times 10. Yeah, I'm like, I don't do math. That's not
No, wait. 50 sometimes isn't that 1,500?
Yeah. Oh, so it's
It doesn't even matter. This is not a math podcast.
I'm also not good at math.
It's not
we're
a math
like,
podcast.
damn.
Don't take my word for it.
Wait, did you go to college?
I did, but
Me too.
that doesn't imply that I know math off the rip.
We should though. Like, what did they teach us?
That's what they have.
School
phones.
is a scam.
They have phones for that.
It is.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
that's a whole different story.
So, how deep do you follow weed in terms of politics?
I mean, I follow it enough. Like, I followed the New York stuff because I was like, all right, I'm back in New York. Let's see. Everybody's saying, well, they're gonna legalize it. They're gonna legalize it. And I was like,
yeah. How did you feel when Cynthia
Nixon didn't
was
win?
on
I was just like, I mean, I didn't think her winning was going to mean it would get legalized. Just because if you look at the way New York is set up, it's New York State and it's New York City.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Upstate is not as all of upstate is not as like
Progressive
and liberal and like ready for the weed. It's like if we legalize weed recreationally, where is it gonna have to grow? Upstate. Do these people want growers and farmers and people buying their land upstate to grow weed? That's something I think about because in California the weed is not grown in Los Angeles, even though it's mostly consumed there. The weed is grown in Northern California.
Yeah.
So it's like
most of the agriculture in LA.
Exactly. So it's like the whole state has to want it. And I think in New York, people are just like so excited for it. I'm like, yo, New York is low key conservative. Like some of the politics, like it's liberal, yes, but like for hard stuff, we had the worst weed laws for a reason.
Yeah.
Because people were voting for them. Like people wanted them. The people who got the money to create the laws and get the politicians in and whatever that shit, they want it. Now I think the only thing I do follow in politics is regarding prison sentences and how people are tried and charged with weed crimes and changes in that. But the policy in terms like who's legalizing it, it's like that is so arbitrary and like people are just so it's too much. No, I don't care about weed politics. I don't care about politics in general, to be honest.
Same.
I'm such a bad person.
No,
Okay, I can't care about everything. I can't.
This is true.
Yeah, you're only one person.
Literally.
Yeah, I see. You're only the one person. I can see right and clear.
Literally.
So how do you feel about weed in terms of politics when it comes to people in our community and how you talked about your crush getting arrested that one day, but then you have fucking the show weeds where a white woman could be fucking celebrated. And wasn't there, I think there's like a documentary or something that they've been trying to shoot of like all these moms in Denver that have this $1 million business.
Mad mom weed things. It's so many. I just feel like politically we've obviously been fucked.
Mm-hmm.
And that's changing, but I think it has to change socially first. Like people have to stop looking at
weed as something that's criminal.
Yeah,
act.
and stop, associating the criminal activity of weed with minorities, and I hate that word, with blacks and browns people, and instead just associate the criminal activities with everybody. Because first of all, in LA, everybody's a criminal everybody doing a criminal activity with weed. Let's be real, like especially the Koreans. We're not gonna get into that, but they out there in LA, they move in weight. But they're not the ones who are being, the face of it, illegal activities.
Of course not.
This is Narcos LA.
I mean, listen, they're not killing each other though.
Season coming
They're
soon?
not. They doing it well. Koreans are real tight. That's what it is.
I mean,
they don't have no beef with each other. If it makes them money, they're gonna make it, work for them.
Yeah.
But I feel like socially we have to stop, just attaching negative values to black and brown people who smoke weed or even sell weed. Because personally, I don't think selling weed is that bad when people be selling crack, which is worse, or pills and like. Or, I mean,
shit
anything.
That's really fucking up the
community.
community.
Weed is, there's way. I just don't think selling weed is that bad. And that's because I know a lot of great people who are drug dealers, So.
They do wonders.
So what about that whole thing with about, like, the reason why, well, from what I've heard, is that the main reason why New York State doesn't want to make weed legal is because of the taxation of it. Like, they can't tax weed because of whatever reason. So it's like there's no financial benefit to.
I didn't hear that. I heard the opposite, honestly. Because if you could tax anything. They don't make anything taxed. I don't know why. I never heard that. But also, I'm like not 100% into politics. I always feel like the taxes that you can get from weed, because they will tax weed. I don't know if they tax medical weed. You can't tax medical weed. You can tax recreational weed. Los Angeles. When I first moved there was no recreational weed. I went to some random doctor. Checked the box. He was like, "Oh, here's a weed card for $60. It's not taxed." Now, when you go to dispensaries, any of us with our IDs, hella tax. Like, you're getting like 15% taxes. Vegas, people go to Vegas because, you know, Nevada's legal, or Vegas. Hella tax. Denver, hella tax. It's a little less, but it's still taxed. So recreational weed is taxed. Medical weed is not taxed. So I don't know about that, because I know you could definitely tax recreational weed. Definitely.
Well, but if anything, if weed is so popular and the recreational side of it could be taxed, then isn't that more revenue for the state?
Oh, it's definitely. But I feel like, and again, I'm not.
I think the stigma is still there.
And it's also like, you know, a lot of the states who have legalized recreational weed are also working to let people out for non-violent weed-related crimes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if New York is trying to do that.
Nope.
That's kind of what I think. I'm like, you know, a lot of the states are making strides to help people who were negatively affected by weed being illegal. Because if you make it legal, of course, like, you're going to have to do something to help people in jail.
That'll be the next step.
Exactly.
Right.
So for New York, that's a big next step, I think. And it's a lot that goes into making weed legal. Now, in a place like Denver or Colorado, it was way easy because, first of all, they don't have to make black people anyway, or minorities. So it's not a lot of people in jail for it.
Mm-hmm.
New York had the worst weed laws, and for a long period of time. So I'm sure the people in jail still for doing non-violent weed-related crimes from the 80s, from the 90s, because that's how
insane.
crazy they were. You know, like, weed is decriminalized now. My homie in the summer just got arrested for smoking a joint in the park. You know, and it's like, he's like, I thought it was decriminalized. Like, yeah, it's decriminalized, but if they want to take you in, they're going to take you in
Right.
still. And they're not just going to give you a ticket, which is what they kind of should do.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe if you're white. If
Yeah.
you're black, they definitely taking you in still. So it's like, New York, it's hard to change mindsets, you know, and I think people really want to legalize it, but there's a lot that goes into it. So for me, it's kind of like, you know, working in the cannabis industry, you got to go where stuff is already legal for you. Like, even DC's legalized. I know people down there who say cops still raid shops, cops still raid parties and arrest people for it, and it's supposed to be legal.
That's
you know,
insane.
so it's a lot.
When they low key doing the shit themselves.
Yeah, everybody doing it. Well, maybe
Yeah,
not the cops.
everybody.
I don't know if the cops are. Don't they get drug tested? I don't know.
Really?
Right? He's like, I don't know. I think they get drug tested, but cops
Who
really do be
cares?
at the clubs every weekend, because I know cops and they be out partying.
Drug test is a whole different
Partying.
story in itself.
Yes, I don't know. Drug tests are scary.
So here's like a double-sided question. As weed becomes more legal across the country, how do you feel about white America benefiting from it? And do you feel like, do people of color eventually will benefit from it?
Gosh, I'm gonna go back to LA, because there's about 4-5 people in the cannabis industry, like in LA, that are black women, and I know all of them.
Oh, dope.
No, that's bad.
Well, okay.
That's
Sorry,
fine.
in the sense of numbers.
In
okay.
the sense of numbers.
Okay.
Like,
It's dope just to know women in the industry.
it's dope. No, it's
Yeah.
dope. Like, we all know each other because
That's
we
what
need
I
each
said.
other. Like,
black
yeah,
sisters
like,
in the industry,
It's
y'all
like-
stick it together.
Yeah,
like,
but the numbers in comparison are
yeah,
yeah,
like,
no,
you know, you go
numbers
to,
are trash, okay.
there are a lot of weed events in LA, and I try and tell people, like, don't invite me to no weed events in New York. I'm not paying $50 to go to Brooklyn Warehouse and smoke weed.
All right,
I'm
that's
not.
shade.
Because I'm not. Like, that's literally what these flyers say. Because in LA, you go anywhere, they have, like, weed bars, and it's, like, people, guys or girls rolling up for you, like, hey, what do you want? Like, it's a weed bar. It's usually free. Every event is free out there. Like, it's a culture. It's a business. You have brand-sponsored parties.
Mm-hmm.
You there's money in it, and so many companies, you look at, like, their team pages, so many events I go to, no black people. Maybe a couple, like, literally a handful. And one, that's due to LA's or California's lack of diversity, but also due to maybe stigmas, but also lack of opportunities. So there are a lot of groups being formed. There's one called Can Inclusive, based out of New York and LA, and they have kind of like affiliates in Denver and stuff, whose goal is to bring minorities in, because there are none. You know, I did a panel at Medgar Evers College earlier in the summer, and it was, you know, 4 minorities in cannabis, all black people, and my little mixed ass. But, you know, we were in cannabis, and we talk about it like everyone knows that, like, there are not a lot of us. And for me, I think I am pretty comfortable putting myself out there, like, on the internet, talking about it, doing stuff like this, because I know that if somebody who looks like me or has relatives like me or feels like I could be their friend, you know, or from their hood, sees me, then maybe they'll want to get into it, because there are opportunities in it. There's billions of dollars in the cannabis industry. Yep. And I think black people make up maybe less than 4% of the people making money from it. And it's like, you see Snoop Dogg with his brand, you see all these, like, 2 Chainz just released a new weed company, you see a couple athletes with it. That's, like, very few, and they're pushing them to kind of prove there's diversity, but there's not. You know, like, there are a lot of white women in it, and to them, you know, to white people, that's diversity. White women help, because it's like, it was only ever white men. But, like, in terms of minorities, very, very few Asians. Very few. And that's probably culturally is the reason for that. But, like, very few Asians, like, legally in it, I would say, or, like, you know, out in force. Very few black people. Couple like, it's not there. Like, people are profiting off of weed. A lot of people, but black people and minorities are just not.
Do you think it's more so because they still have, like, that shit in the back of their mind? Like, yo, if I even try to start something, I already know they might come looking for me.
I mean, I think yes
or
and no.
they may make the hurdle much greater in comparison to white people.
Right.
It's a hurdle, definitely, because it's expensive to start. Like, people always want to say, oh, why don't you open a dispensary? First of all, to open a dispensary in Jersey, you got to show you have, like, $10 million in the bank, just in case. Black people don't have that kind of capital.
Nope.
To start a weed brand, like, I know a young person from Upper West Side, a white guy, who got a weed farm in LA, you know, in Northern California, actually. And it's like, that's dope. He's young as hell, but he's also a white dude whose family lived on the Upper West Side all his life. So, you know, he got a little cash, a little savings, a little capital. We don't have that. Yeah, we don't have that. So I try and tell people, like, all right, stop focusing on trying to sell weed. I don't sell weed. I don't touch weed. Okay, I touch weed. But, like, you know, like, I don't sell weed, you know. I sell products that are influenced by weed. I create content where I can have brands pay me, you know, to talk about products. There are a way to get into it. There are graphic designers needed for weed companies. There's people who, you know, you can be a bud tender. Like, you don't have to necessarily open a dispensary, have your own weed line to make profit. And I think that's people need to know. But it's also a little scary because you don't know that. You know, you don't know how to get into it. It's not there's no kind of blueprint for the cannabis industry at all.
And then there's no, like, one specific person that's kind of, like, opening the doors for people.
There's none. There's no, like, MLK of the cannabis industry.
Until now.
Listen. Okay.
We're looking right at her.
Oh, my God.
Exclusive.
Oh, my God.
You heard it here first.
It is me.
So how do you feel like the legalization of it affects, like, the job market? Because, you know, people got to take drug tests, or, you know, they'll say if they see your behavior has changed because of certain things, they'll want to bring you to the office. Like, my job has a very strict policy on, like, do not bring any drugs to the floor. I mean, bring any drugs to the office. Like, we don't want to see you in any sort of condition. And, I mean, we're talking about 31-year-old hipsters in a tech company.
They got vape pens. I'm sure they back up. But I would say don't apply to those jobs if you smoke weed and you know you're going to be drug tested. Don't even set yourself up. But it's different because, like, in a place like New York, weed is illegal. So technically, you shouldn't be smoking weed anyway unless you have a medical card, which most people don't because it's highly expensive and it's stupid.
Right.
In California, however, I mean, in LA, everybody's high. You know, like, you can walk down Melrose, and if people are having, like, lunch, they're passing a joint back and forth as if it's a cigarette, but it's a joint, you know, and no one cares. Like, literally, like, no, for real, like in people's cars, like, you driving and smoking in LA is like, you're not worried about no cops stopping you. What they gonna stop you for? Because you're smoking weed? Like, nobody cares.
It's like you passing over a Newport.
Right. Now, like, I don't know, because I know people who work in advertising who smoke heavily. I know a lot of people who work in who have, like real jobs.
Serious,
and literally
high-ranking jobs.
They're dope, and they're all people of color, too, and they post that they're smoking on Instagram. So I'm like, people from your company, like, everybody knows you smoke. Like, it is what it is. Like, you're not gonna smoke at work, but, like, after work on the weekends, if you're smoking, it's like drinking alcohol, you know. Right. So I think it really depends on culture. Like, in Denver, I'm sure nobody drug tests in Denver, in that city, because they literally have, like, weed has been legal for over 10 years, I think, at this point. It's their moneymaker. If weed wasn't there, Denver would not have money. They get Seattle, Washington. Washington gets, like, 100 and something million from taxes in weed. You know, their roads are good, their schools are good. Literally, you know. So I think it really depends. But, like, you know, if my word of advice, if you have a job, if you want to get a job and it's your career goal and weed is stopping you, don't smoke weed. You know. But if it's a job where you may not want it and, like, you really like weed and they're gonna drug test you, don't even put yourself through it. You know, don't let weed factor your whole life if it doesn't need to. But, you know, I feel like, like, did your job drug test you?
No. Actually, to get the job, yes.
See, that's the thing. It's like they drug test you to get the job, so you just don't smoke for, like, those 3 months. Or get a test that, like, conceals the weed in your pee. or buy synthetic urine, or
All right, that's a rabbit hole.
right. No, there's a lot. Listen,
I mean,
a lot can be done.
I mean, the black market exists for a reason.
Bruh. I know a girl who got a weed masking kit off of Amazon. So
off of Amazon.
Yeah,
it
this
worked.
girl was trying to teach me how to scam, and she was buying all her,
Teach you how to scam.
and all the shit she was buying was from Amazon. Like, she sent me all the links to
weed stuff.
no, to like
Oh.
scam credit cards.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah,
god! Like
she
with
was
the
buying
imprints and stuff.
yeah,
I
she
know.
was buying
Listen, I
it,
did
yeah.
a Brooklyn do before.
Did she get it on
I know
Prime?
Probably.
Delivery?
She probably scammed
2 days.
that Amazon shit.
She be
probably-
scamming in 2 days or less.
Yo, can you? Is she from Brooklyn?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, y'all different in Brooklyn. Scamming is a
And
lifestyle.
look, fucking
Yeah, I'm
Amazon's
good.
about to hit up the Long Island City. Oh baby.
There's gonna be Amazon out there.
Oh, they're supposed
Yeah,
to
they're
bring
trying
up-
to bring the headquarters. Well,
One
one
of
of
the
their
HQs.
yeah, one of their
Damn, New York
headquarters.
tax breaks must be getting good because
It's gonna be wild.
It's gonna be trash.
But the Prime though, I'm just gonna be.
It's
17
Yo,
days is gonna be 2
Jeff
hours.
Bezos
It's
better
gonna-
drop my shit off personally.
You wish. It might be even worse. New York people are a little, we fast, but if they're not paying you well, and they got, because Amazon apparently, like, they got people, like, not being able to leave the line, not being able to go to the bathroom.
yeah,
yeah,
no,
I heard
Amazon's
that word.
trash.
Yeah, I heard
Yeah,
that working
Amazon's
If you
conditions
got
is
somebody from the
horrible.
Bronx, they'd be like, fuck this shit, nigga, I'll quit. Like,
Word.
Word. Or he's
So,
about to start
fuck
sending
your
mad
package.
products for the free.
Right, exactly.
Like,
Oh,
yo, you want this iMac?
fuck it.
Word.
They ain't paying me enough.
Now
Okay,
the
I gotta
cousins,
pay you.
everybody get it.
Exactly. You know how much
Seal
shit
this with the tape, label. All
Amazon
right.
Prime on the low.
See you there, buddy.
Like-
Yo, that'd be lit. Oh my god. You need to get somebody in Amazon. That is a scam.
So
Get your
come.
scammer around me.
Yeah.
You probably know
I remember when I was working at FedEx, like when I had first started, this was like 2008. One of the drivers, like in the first week, one of the drivers just pulled up into the store, like, yo, I got all the iPhones.
Oh, that was the way.
And this was when the iPhones just came out. He's like, yo, I got all the iPhones. Just let me know. Management was on the floor and everything. I was like, what the
Bruh.
fuck is
Fam,
going on?
Time and place.
I'm be real though. FedEx. Okay, I can't say this.
We'll talk
The
off it.
feds could
Yeah,
be watching.
We'll talk. We'll talk.
But-
Or
about it.
listening, or
We'll talk
or
about it.
watching. Never mind. Never mind.
So, like I said, I brought you on the show because you're an entrepreneur. So when did you decide to become an entrepreneur, and then specifically with hemp oil? Because that's what your beauty
Yeah.
products use.
I feel like I've always kind of been an entrepreneur. Like I've sold stuff here and there.
Mm-hmm.
More so, it wasn't me deciding like to become an entrepreneur because I still need a job, to be honest. But it was me. I don't know. Like I've always wanted a beauty brand. I just didn't know how or what. And hemp oil is derived from the cannabis plant. It's just not psychoactive, so there's no THC in it. Well, there can be, but there's no THC in it. Very little, CBD. It's literally just like a plant that has really good benefits.
Mm-hmm.
So in deciding like how can I still be a part of the cannabis industry after moving back to New York, because that's when I started the brand. I moved back to New York. I'm like, this cannabis industry here kind of seems whack. It seems very like medical based. It seems really like it's really white and Jewish because they have all the money to afford the stocks. A lot of Jewish lawyers, a lot of them, older men, a lot of them. And I was like, all right, this just doesn't feel like LA. Like LA is super young and thriving. Like it may not be as diverse in terms of people yet, but there's a culture there that's mad young and fun.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and it just, if you want to smoke, you can smoke. If you want to be part of the medical side, you can be, but you don't have to only just focus on that. And I was like, all right, what can I do? Like, I still want to be a part of it. And I want to make money too, and I want to keep my name out there, because I do YouTube where I I've done my makeup, like smoked and did my makeup high, or like I have videos with like me and my homegirl in LA where we just smoke and we just talk about shit. I don't know what the fuck we was talking about because he was high as fuck. We're like passing back a blunt and like a joint with fronto in it, like testing it out, weird shit. But like we're high, so I did stuff like that. But I'm like in New York, I just don't feel comfortable doing that, to be honest. Like, I don't want to be on camera on here. I didn't have a place to like really just smoke and shoot.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to think of something else. And hemp oil is legal in all 50 states.
Mm-hmm.
You could buy it online.
Yeah.
It's, it was a way for me to like have something from the cannabis plant without really having cannabis, and being able to ship to every state and not just having and not scaring people by saying there's weed in it, and I think that's, people ask me like, is there weed in this? It's cannabis. I see your little leaf logo. No, it's not. And in starting that, I just realized, okay, hemp oil is great for skin. Hemp oil is great for your hair. And I can start a business with this and grow a business that, is for the girls who are kind of into weed, into cannabis culture and love that there's little leaf logos everywhere and like that they have hemp oil in their products. And also girls who just kind of want to have skincare. Because like a lot of my customers are not necessarily smokers. They're just like, I like skincare and I feel like hemp oil is new and different and your skin looks good. So yeah, it's trendy, you know. Has great SEO. So it works out for me. And just being an entrepreneur, you know, for me, my career path hasn't been, it's not linear. Is that a good word? Like straight? Like a line?
I don't think anybody's it.
Yeah.
I think we all just figuring shit out.
Yeah. So, and I'm like, you know, in the midst of figuring it out, I was working this summer. I was working at Soho House as a waitress. So I was like, all right, I'm a server. I'm making some money. Let me invest in this brand. Let me have something that is mine that I can build on. It's been I started in like July. It's been a couple months. And, you know, it's been a journey. But I think it's going to go far. I feel like for me, going back to LA is going to be kind of a good thing for the brand as well. Just because, like, you know, having that New York kind of cred back in Los Angeles will help you out a little bit. But I don't know, entrepreneurs, I don't know how to say that word, but being an entrepreneur it's interesting. I think people think that, like, you're an entrepreneur now, you're making money, you don't need a job. No. You fucking need a job.
You usually don't make money the first year.
You don't. And if you even last the first year, I'm like, damn, like, it's hard, you know? So it's just about, for me, trying to keep going, trying to come up with new innovative ways, and really trying to get my products into, like, the real cannabis, like, sphere of shopping. Because there are a lot of cannabis brands that use hemp oil, use CBD, and they have more money than I do to, like, send product out, to do, like, you know, advertising, to create really great packaging and product packaging. And I'm like, damn, I need to get to that level. Because there's a lot of cannabis brands out there. Well, cannabis, air quotes, brands out there who use hemp oil, who use CBD, and I'm trying to get to their level because they're making money.
Are there beer products with hemp oil in it?
Yeah, there's CBD products. There's beer with CBD in it.
I think I saw one too.
I mean, when I was in LA, like, I had this company send me freaking seltzer water with THC. Shit was nasty. But it had like 20 milligrams per bottle of THC, I believe. So, like, you drink half a bottle, you're good. You drink a full bottle, like, you're like, okay, this is nice. Like, 15 milligrams, I'd say, of THC is that good level. So look for 15 milligrams, all right? Maybe 10 for you, Mr.
Okay.
I see shit
Doc.
flying.
No
Dr. Jackson. I see shit
10
flying.
mils. Got
like,
it, Doc.
10 milligrams.
10 milligrams, yes.
Okay.
10 mils?
You said mils is like, I don't know, milliliters? ML?
Let's not get back. Yeah, let's not get back.
We're some math heads, right?
Let's not get back to this.
It just feels like math. No, thank you. 10
Episode would be called Weed and Math.
So that you basically explain like your mission statement for your brand, which is called Gleam NYC.
Yeah. Wait, you want me to explain it?
No, I mean
I did. Yeah, I mean,
that basically was it.
I mean, no, it's just really like trying to give really great, you know, I say hemp infused beauty and style products. So I do T-shirts. I have like socks and earrings and with the you know, weed leaf on it. I want to offer something for girls who are like into weed and who want to share that, you know. But also, if you just kind of want beauty products and like you just kind of want, you know, to look good and have the benefits of hemp oil, you can have that too. Because, you know, not every girl who smokes wants to show that they smoke, which I totally understand. But there are girls who are like, yo, I want to have a high nameplate necklace. I want to have weed logo earrings, you know, like give me a T-shirt with weed on it because I'm about that, you know. Which
so
I think is cool.
They're about the life, but they don't necessarily smoke.
Yeah, it's a lot of girls
who... Is that
who...
weird?
I mean, no, because for me, being back in New York, I haven't smoked as much as I do in LA, just because, like, I don't think you have to. Yeah, the environment is so different. Oh my God, you can't
New York,
be high.
Ew.
Yo, it's too busy to be high in New York. Like in LA, you have to be high because everybody's slow as hell. Everybody's high. Everyone's high, so it's like if you're not high, you're just moving way too fast.
You're ruining the vibe.
Yeah, here it's like the weed sucks here.
Hot take.
No, it does.
Yeah, I've heard that.
The weed sucks here. It's a difference. It's a quality difference. Like in California, they have to pass so many regulatory tests that it has to be good. Like it nearly has to be FDA approved in a sense. Not the FDA, not the DEA. I don't know what it's called, but it has to be proved. You know, like they have standards of weed. Here, it's like we got that sour. I'm from Harlem, so that's what we got, sour.
Yay.
Like that's what we got, sour. And I was like, I don't want that. And then like I don't know, eighths here. It's $45 for eighth. California, get my eighths for $30. I'm like, nah, y'all.
We wildin'.
Y'all wildin'.
We wildin'. We wildin'.
Too much money, yo. Too much. I can't wait to go back and just.
Well, you leaving Saturday?
No, Tuesday.
You lied to me.
That's a Tuesday.
You
I don't know. You probably.
Well, I mean, I'm not a liar.
That's fine. You're from LA.
I think it's like proven potheads don't lie. Just like black men don't cheat, you know?
All right.
All right. So she came with that good comeback. I'm not
Right?
gonna respond.
No comment. Comments disabled.
I concur. So why is it important for you to be not only a female entrepreneur but be a female entrepreneur of color?
I think it's important because the job,
Especially in this industry.
in cannabis.
Yeah.
Because one, it's natural to me. Like I think I've always had like a positive relationship with weed.
Mhm.
So moving to a place where weed is pretty positively viewed. It's it kind of opened me up to like, wow, like this is a path I can take. I think my career path, because being an entrepreneur is like a full-time career. So my career path has been, I would say, me trying to figure out exactly how I can take my skills and what I like and put it to something. And I've always liked weed. I've always liked weed culture. I've always liked smoking weed. And it just became natural to me to like go into that field. And then being a person of color, I will say it's not easier for me, but it's easier to talk about it in terms of having a certain like angle, because you can have a lot of white people have the same kind of experience with weed. To be honest, they do. And there are a lot of them, so their kind of view of weed gets put out there the most because they're the ones talking to media, creating content, speaking on it. And as a black person, the women that I know in Los Angeles who speak on it, and in New York, we have a similar story, but we're just not as heard. Like I know two Dominican girls, and Dominicans are super like, Latinos are definitely not into weed. They're probably more like Caribbeans, where it's like, nah. Two Dominican girls I know, they have like they're having one tonight, I think. It's called Higher Dining, and they do weed-infused yoga.
I think I heard of them.
And food. I post them, so maybe you saw it on my story. And it's like, for them, it's super interesting because Dominican women don't speak out about liking weed, smoking weed, allowing weed. And I went to one of their events. You just had a circle of Dominican women, mostly Dominican women, and some black women who were just like, I smoke weed and I like it, and this is the first time I've been able to like
Express it,
without stigma. A couple of them were older, and they're just like, my family doesn't know, like, I was always scared to smoke. It's crazy, but it's like, that's the truth. Like, we're just women of color, and I'll say black women and women of African descent, we are not allowed to express our love of weed as openly. Because if you do, there's definitely stigmas, definitely. And I always felt like I knew the stigma didn't apply to me, but not everyone has that sense of confidence. And if I, allow myself to be put on the internet and risk whatever and have people see me and, know my mom knows I smoke weed and I'm on the internet, like if I can do that and risk, I guess, my self-image for a lot, having other women feel confident to do so, and be okay smoking weed, then I'll take that, because for me, I don't think it's a bad thing. And I know, like, you look on YouTube at, like, the smokers who are women, most of them are white girls, and they have no problem smoking weed. Their families smoke weed. Like, nobody cares, but for us,
we're... shit in their faces.
Like, they don't care. Like, they're supported, it's like, it is what it is. It's like drinking alcohol. It's just like that, But for us, in our communities, like, it's such a stigma. And girls who do smoke, like, even when I was younger, I smoked with guys a lot, because they had the weed, Girls didn't have weed. Nobody was smoking but me. I put my friends on.
Since you brought it up, when I think about music, it's always the girl rolling it up. She's never partaking in it.
She'll never smoke it, right. And even rappers, like, there's some lyrics, like, Wiz Khalifa got a lyric where he's like, oh, she's rolling it up, but she only smoke weed. It's like, so why is she fucking rolling it up? Like, that takes mad effort, first of all. Right. Like, I just remember hearing that. I'm just like, why are you so obsessed with girls rolling your weed, but then, like, if a girl smokes, you look at her differently. And if a girl has guy friends, I'm smoking my guy friends. Like, I'm not smoking and they running a train on me. But I feel like that's the fucking idea. It's like on some real shit.
I never thought about that.
This is why I be saying men is trash. Because it's just, just in that concept of that whole patriarchy vision of like, yo, niggas can smoke, but bitches don't be smoking. They just be rolling my shit. Like, shut up.
Men smoke. Like, and women are always just like, you get looked at a certain way, and it's like, fuck that. I smoke, and I probably have more money in my bank account than you do, sir.
Talk
so
your shit.
Stop.
Talk heavy.
Literally.
Talk heavy.
And it's fine to say that, because I think women, it's just weed. Like, it's literally just weed.
It's just weed. Everybody relax.
It's just weed.
Literally.
And
I think I'm going to name the episode, It's Just Weed.
It's just weed, And for women of color and black women, like, you grow up in the hood, your parents tell you not to smoke weed, and they probably tell girls more than guys. You know, they probably hammer that into women more than men because they don't want us to turn out a certain way. And there's just a lot of stigmas with women of color, and you know, especially if you got parents who are immigrants. That's definitely like, you know, it's not fun for us. But I think it's changing. I think more and more women are just like, fuck it.
Yeah, I see it more visually on social media
than ever before.
Yeah.
Like 5 years ago, you didn't see this many women who smoked. You definitely did not.
Agreed.
But I think with the media being more free and states legalizing and just, you know, having that representation's everything. So there's going to be more women, whether you smoke weed or you just want to get into the cannabis industry, you should be able to do that. And I think, you know, we got some people coming. We just need these fucking white media companies, Vice, to stop only having one black girl in a fucking
Vice is
productions.
Trash. Vice is super trash.
Mary Jane is still dog shit. They had a whole show with like 10 white girls and they throw one black girl in and be like, diversity. I'm like, no. We need more.
Well, this is why we have you.
Literally.
This is why we have you.
Spread the word.
So I want to thank. Well, before you leave, tell everybody where they can get your products, and if you want to share your personal social.
Oh hell
handles.
yeah, I need followers, bro.
I need your followers.
You're not popping out here?
No, I'm not. I keep losing followers. I don't know. Okay, I don't know why I keep losing followers. I think because I'm just not posting enough on Instagram.
Consistency
I just don't care.
is key.
I just don't care. Like I don't take pictures like that.
It's probably a little rebranding.
I'm gonna go back to LA and just get up there.
Oh, you're just over New York. Just
fuck
all these people.
Your environment matters.
It does.
Yeah, because if you don't feel inspired, then there's no reason for you to post anything.
I'm not
it's
my hair. Look at my hair.
That's a good reason not to
face.
do shit.
No.
Number one answer.
Like this outfit. Like this is a cold outfit. Like I'm cold. I got leggings on. Anyway, I'm cold.
You mad?
Yo, I'm so mad. I haven't felt this cold in 2 years.
Yep, she's a New Yorker.
I'm so cold. But if you want to follow me, my Instagram and my Twitter too is Tori Uptown. It's Tori Uptown. You should be able to spell Uptown. If you want to follow me on YouTube, you can just search Uptown Girl, and that's GRRL, because if you do GIRL, it's all Billy Joel shit. You know,
really?
Oh. You gotta do like a trap remix of that.
I've been trying to get my producer friends.
Son,
I need to do it.
Yo, the producer friends never come in the clutch.
They never come through.
They never come in the clutch.
I think I told him this like 3 years ago. He was like, "That's lit. We gotta do that shit."
Look at him.
We never did it. But I'm gonna have to do it. Yeah, if you want to shop my products, we're gonna do a rebranding for the new year. So you need to get ready for that. It's gonna be Shop Gleam NYC. That's our Instagram. So at Shop Gleam GLEAM NYC. And then for our products, it's gleamnyc.com. And that's pretty much it. I ain't got no other websites or nothing.
That's fine. I'll put everything in the description.
Put it in, please.
Yeah, I'm gonna hold it down.
Please.
I'm gonna hold it down. I'm gonna hold it down.
I need everything.
So yeah, I want to thank Tori for coming through. Who else we gotta thank? Definitely gotta thank Bianca, our executive producer, who outlined this entire show. I couldn't do this shit without her. Obviously, thank all our listeners, fellow podcasters. Shout out to Nieema, since she couldn't be here. She did say what's up.
She said your.
Yeah, she actually said yours. Yeah,
she
my
said
bad.
your.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like
she's
5
a New
eyes or
Yorker.
5
Yeah.
R's or some shit?
Yeah.
Oh, 5? Wow, I feel special.
I mean, anything less is uncivilized.
This is true. This is true. And we got anything else? That's it.
Yeah. I mean, we got more stuff coming up. I mean,
we gotta be in the studio mad.
I really want to tell people, like, follow us on Slack, because I am. You know what? Make a pledge right now, Tori. You gotta join our Slack channel, because we lit.
I know what Slack is, kind of, but like everybody's asking me to join Slack, and
it's like a group, but we're trying to. Like,
it's like a group messaging thing.
Oh my god.
Oh whoa! Too much.
Never mind. Unsubscribe.
You need a blunt too much. Too much for you?
Okay, I'll join it though, just because.
Or tell your friends, or tell somebody. I don't know. I'm tired of talking to the same 2 people. Like, y'all cool and all, but damn, these jokes gotta get off.
Those 2 people out.
These jokes gotta get off. No, shout out to TJ from Lover's Quarrel. He be chatting ever so often, but we want to talk with y'all.
Yeah, hit our email up. The website is up. Yeah, we're just gonna have more content. New Year's coming.
It's winter. Y'all better just work. Ain't nothing else to do.
All right.
Yeah.
You can't smoke outside.
Well, since Tori said it, got no choice but to do it now.
All right.
Doctor's
We on the
prescription.
clock.
And that's it, and that's all. So we speak to y'all next week.
right, later, y'all.
Later.
We are out here. Fuck y'all talking about. Sophisticated ignorance. Are y'all fucking crazy?
That's a fact. Talk
Are y'all
that shit.
crazy? Yo, y'all getting me tight. Like, I be out here trying to be humble. Let's not get fucking crazy. Sophisticated ignorance. All right?